Hey, this is Kyle Starks. I am the writer for Peacemaker and Where Monsters Lie, and you are listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
You're not going to top that. So we're just going to run with it.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
No.
I thought I was too close. All right.
No. I don't want to give you another shot at it because Sir noise a lot. I'll try and
Real though?
Yeah, pull the rug out from underneath you.
Sir noise a lot.
Oh, yeah, Jesus Christ! The man's got his own fucking studio in the house now.
He's like a little kid. I'm here. Remember me? I'm over here. I'm here.
Oh God!
Jeez. How could we forget that you're here? Boy, oh boy.
Boy, oh boy.
Whole mess of good stuff read this week.
All of it.
Yeah, you did read it down. I love it.
Lots and lots of stuff. We're going to talk about it because you know what, people? This is 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 964. And I'm Vince B.
Who? You are Vince B. And I am David A. Price.
This is true. And of course, I am everyone's favorite Sea King, Arthur Curry.
Oh, boy. No, you're not, Arthur Curry. You're Jason Wood, everybody. Here together again, talking about comics, brought to you by who? CheapGraphicNovels.com. Can you read? I'm sure you can. CheapGraphicNovels.com says it all. You can expect to get cheap graphic novels. Not only graphic novels, but OGNs, those are original graphic novels, omnibus editions, trade paperbacks, manga, all that stuff at a fraction of the price printed on the back. You flip it over and you look at the price and you're like, I'm not paying that. No way. Because I go to cheapgraphicnovels.com where the prices are low. And get this, if you're a first-time customer, if you have not taken advantage of the savings at cheapgraphicnovels.com yet, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go there and you're going to buy maybe one or two books. Test the waters, right? Make them prove themselves. And you'll get it. You'll receive an email confirmation saying, thank you, good person, for ordering from us. And you're going to reply to that email confirmation saying, I never, ever, ever in a million bajillion years would have known about this place if not for 11 O'Clock Comics. Max is going to gift you free shipping on your second order. And that is when you go downtown and you rent a U-Haul and you go pick up your books. All the many, many, many boxes of books, because you're going to save crazy. No, that would cost you money. You're not going to do that. You're just going to let Max ship them because it's free. It's free. Yeah, and you know what? On top of all this stuff, the low prices, the free shipping on the second order, they also have specials.
Ooh, do they have specials every week?
Can it core apple?
Can it?
Chef of the future.
Love it. My wife. There were a bunch of things I threw to slackers earlier this week, but some of the finer items that I was really, really looking forward to. Finally, my next shipment of from Indiana is going to actually be a little bigger than a standard mailer, because it's going to include the DC Comics 1982 Style Guide. This is 25% off, $71.25, reproduced from a rare original copy. The book features over 165 highly detailed scans of legendary art by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, first issued in 82, of course. The Style Guide aims to assist licensees in delivering a consistent look for DC superheroes. We have the next volume in DC Finest in that library, Aquaman, the King of Atlantis, trade paperback, 40% off, $23.99. You got art by people like Ramona Ferdon and Nick Hardy. You've got stories collecting stories from Adventure Comics, Action Comics, Detective Comics, World's Finest, Showcase, Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane, and 3 issues of Aquaman. ElfQuest covers 1978 to 2022. This is a hardcover at 20% off, $59.96, or soft cover, 20% off at $47.96. Collects every cover from ElfQuest's entire 46-year run, complete with titles and logos, first published treatment. You've got Richard Pini has selected artwork from each respective comic and shared additional insight into the history or theme of each issue. And finally, Winsor McKay's complete Little Nemo hardcover. This is a new printing, 20% off, $79.99. Collects in full, glorious color, all 549 episodes of Little Nemo from Taschen.
Crazy. I have that book. It's
Cray,
awesome.
cray.
Yeah.
Cray.
Who knew Red Sonja can draw so well?
Right?
Yeah. I'm telling you, back in the day.
Yes.
Yeah. Wendy was a cutie patootie. Wendy Peeney, you know that, Jason. She was,
Yes,
she cosplayed as Red Sonja.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe she also modeled for the man himself. So.
Yeah. There's photos of the two of them together.
Yeah. All right. You know what? I'm drinking. And again, I didn't want to wake up in a cotton stupor. So I am drinking some wine. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon from some place called Foxhorn Vineyards. And it's not great. It's not.
The Richard Sucking label on this one?
It's a sticky label. You know, there's no screen printed bottles on this. It's just a sticky label, and there's no cork. It's a screw on. But this is one of the things that we bought, I guess, for Christmas, and nobody popped it open. So I'm drinking it, and it's not undrinkable. It's not undrinkable.
Does it taste like
okay.
Does it taste like it can go to turn to vinegar real quick?
No, it doesn't have any body. Like, it's really thin, really thin.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
and it's a cab.
Yeah.
Watery cab. Nothing says tasty like watery cab.
How does that happen? And I started a little early, because I wanted to taste it, test the waters. You could taste the alcohol in it, but it takes a while. It just tastes like nothing. And then there's alcohol in here, because then you get a little bit of a something on the back end. But I don't know. I don't love it, and I really can't recommend it. But I am drinking it. So
fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough. Yeah. I have no such enjoyment. I'm drinking a collection of non-alcoholic beverages in rapid succession.
A cornucopia.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
This is from Springbrook Farm Distillery. This is the label amuses me. It's Adirondack blended straight bourbon whiskey, painstakingly selected and blended by our master distillers. But what amuses me is a drawing of man, and we see him from behind. He's a fisherman, so he's got his rod casted and it's bent over. But the angle of this drawing, it looks as though my man's taking a whiz and it's arcing very high.
Good for him.
It's a wild image. Every time I look at it, I'm like, why is this guy pissing? But he's just fishing. But yeah, a friend of mine dropped this off, and it was all the way in the back of the liquor cabinet. Hadn't had it in a while, and we were supposed to only have it whenever he would come over, and that's been over a year now. So I'm having some, and it's good. I don't know if I'd pick it up if I'd see it in a store, but I do like it. It's one of those things that I think is enjoyed with friends and otherwise, because you might think that you hate yourself or you're an alcoholic if you're drinking it by yourself.
Well, you do have a liquor cabinet. I mean, yeah. So in keeping with the trend initiated last episode, I'm going to give a shout out to a new patron. Big thanks, and much love to Kenneth Derrick.
Yeah, Kenneth.
So thank you very much. If you want to check out the Patreon, by all means, just shimmy on over to patreon.com/11o'clock comics and see what's happening. 2 tiers, very
What's
simple. We give a lot of stuff. You get a lot of stuff. It's just a lot of fun. Camaraderie, joy of comics, all that stuff.
What's the frequency?
98.7.
A little bit of business to take care of before we dive into these funny books.
We got business?
Got some business, some more business. Okay. First up, all the karmic, cosmic hugs and positive thoughts to all our peoples out in the Los Angeles area. Checked in with as many of you as I could think of to reach out to. And the good news is, at least in terms of our people that we're directly close with, it seems like everyone's managing through it. But I do know some people adjacent. I won't put their personal business out because it's their business, but have lost their homes. It's pretty crazy. As I told you guys before we recorded, one of my best friends from college is evacuated, and we know of lots of other people that have evacuated. Hopefully, just for precautionary reasons, but pretty crazy out there. So much love to you all, and we hope that by the time you're listening to this, you're somewhere safe and your house is safe too. On to a happier note, our 11 O'Clockers episode, our best of, is next week. So next Thursday, a week from today. Thanks to those of you who have voted. We've had a nice turnout the last week or two. We've been heeding the call as people have kind of gotten out and figured out what their favorite things were from 2024. And just for those of you who are waiting to the last minute, because there's lots of procrastinators out there, I'm going to lock down this voting probably Saturday because I need the time to tally everything, and the Eagles, of course, play Sunday, so I don't want to be effing with this then. So let's just say, if you want to get your votes in and haven't yet, that you have until Saturday. So 2 days from the time we record this, probably 1 day from the time most of you are listening to this. I thought I had a third piece of business, but no, that's it. That's it for now.
Should thank Jimmy Carter for his damn service.
For sure. Did you guys have off today? Well,
No.
I had the day off. The market was closed, it was weird. Like Holden had school.
Yeah, that's right. I heard about that.
And I had the market off, which has pretty much never happened before. So
Only president I've ever met.
Oh, did you
that's
meet
awesome.
him? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, was coming back from C2E2 or Wizard World Chicago or whatever. I was in back when we used to fly separately, remember?
Yeah,
I was coming back.
yeah. If it was Wizard World, yeah.
Yeah, Wizard World, one of them. I was coming back. I was in O'Hare, and this man walks out with a circle of large men around him, and it was Jimmy Carter. And I said, "Thank you very much, sir." And he said, "You're welcome." And that was it.
Look at that. Brush with greatness.
You don't want to get your ass kicked and go anywhere near a freaking...
Nah.
No,
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
But, it was looking good.
I am. I have to snicker because of the flags being at half staff, and they're still going to be.
Yes.
When dipshit. So yeah, that pleases me greatly.
Yes. You know what else? You know what else? Please. You know what else? Pleases me greatly.
Are you about to translate some of the manga you read this week?
I don't have to translate it because it was thankfully translated already for us by the great Ryan Holmberg. Yeah.
You read all the friggin' manga, dude.
I've read a lot of manga this week. Mostly manga, yes.
All but one thing on your list.
And even the one thing it walks and talks a lot like manga. So
it's true.
Yeah. But we were graciously, thankfully, provided a glimpse into the future from the great Living the Line publisher who sent us a bunch of books that will be published over the course of 2025. A couple of them from the Smudge imprint, which is awesome. Even I get the shakes just thinking about it because everything that has come out from Living the Line, but particularly the Smudge imprint, has been phenomenal. And this is under the Smudge imprint. Again, like I said, translated by the great Ryan Holmberg. It's written and illustrated by Shinichi Koga in 1975. This thing is called Mansect. And to say that it's bonkers, I think is an understatement.
I'll say, dude.
It is.
Also, before you go on, just let's shout out Sean Michael Robinson is the living line person who hooks us up. So
I love this.
Thank you so very much.
I mean the O'Closkers are next week, and you're going to see. But this book filled me with such revulsion and joy in equal measure that here's the rub, right? There's a shift along the course of this book because it begins with a young man named Hideo, right? And Hideo is infatuated with the bugs, loves the bugs.
A little too much.
Anything with the bugs.
Yeah.
He's down with our multi segmented creatures, and unfortunately Hideo's mom passes away. Right, so She did. He lives alone, and he's
an incel basically.
Yeah, kinda. He's seen by the local people as the weirdo, that guy. Hush tones. Let's not interact. But he's made fun of, and he particularly he has it all laid out. He knows the science, and he's particularly infatuated with the process of holometabolous metamorphosis, which is in essence caterpillar to butterfly. How an organism can completely transform from one state to another. Right? Just he loves the bugs, and like I said, he's made fun of and bullied because he's tricked by a bunch of ne'er-do-wells, making fun of him. Hey, you want to see some great bugs? They're over here. And he's tricked into, immersing himself into a pit of manure and maggots. And during the event, he cuts his leg. And that's pretty much all she wrote. Because he begins spewing this cotton-like material from the wound. His physical characteristics begin to shift, and it seems like he becomes desiccated. Like all of the moisture in his body is being drained. He gets all withered and craggy and wrinkled. He starts to vomit the cotton, and he has these sores on his appendages that weep this gossamer substance. Eventually, Hideo transforms into something new, the Mansect, and he begins to drop parts of himself along the way, like parts that move and shift independently. He has this run-in with a dog.
Yeah.
And the dog bites his forearm off. And the forearm, it's like Invasion of the Saucermen or the Eye Creatures. The forearm begins to crawl and do stuff on its own. But this is where the book takes a shift, because the focus is not primarily on Hideo. It becomes this weird kind of anthology. Like Man-Thing, the narrative starts to ping pong. Like it'll focus on characters that are drawn into the Mansect's orbit. Like he's not it's not the main character for the duration of the book. It's these other characters that somehow cross paths with the Mansect. Like Little Show, who finds he finds the hand that Mansect lost in the scuffle with the dog. And I hope to get a chance, if the runtime allows, to talk about the second volume of Orochi, because Show's mom is just like one of the mothers in Orochi, because there is this incredible fixation in Japan. I'm sure it's the same way today, but at the time of the creation of these works, there was an incredible fixation on academic excellence. You have to get great grades. You have to earn your way into great schools. You have to excel and become, because you will bring honor to our family, right? And the mothers in both instances berate the fuck out of these kids if they don't perceive them investing what they believe to be enough time in their schoolwork. Like physical, verbal, they just bash these kids around. And I'm just like, wow, we should have 1/10 of that. I don't want to beat up kids in the United States, but the focus on academic excellence should be a thing to a certain degree. But this is way overboard in Japan, and I get it. These kids have physical and psychological problems because of the huge burden that getting into these top tier schools, no sleep, they're sickly, the anxiety, all that stuff. But anyway, I digress. So, Sho brings something entirely different to the table, right? This hand, and he's being tutored, and the tutor's like, your kid's got a fucking hand thing in his room, and they're like, what? And so eventually Sho transforms as well to the point where his brain is gone. And his heart is transformed into an insect heart. And I don't want to reveal too much of this because it has yet to be published. And I think a lot of the real joy of this book is the WTF events that transpire. I will reveal one though, because you're not going to believe it. You're really not. Sitting there on the other side of the speaker, you're going to hear this and you're going to be like, what the fuck are we reading? There's a young girl named Aki-chan.
Mm-hmm.
And she's hurting for friends and she's looking for attention. And she gets it from the Mansect, but she calls the Mansect her big brother. And the two of them frolic in this cave system. And they have a really strange relationship. It's weird because they'll play, right? And the Mansect will let the girl get ahead of him or get the upper hand in whatever game just to position himself in a way where he can start sucking on her and sucking her blood. And it comes totally out of the blue. Here's these two, and she's like, oh, big brother, we'll have some fun. You do this, and we'll play hide and seek. And he's like, and he's sucking on the back of her leg. It is really weird. And then even at one point, she says, oh, big brother likes to suck on my blood. What is happening? But it's so strange. There's bug eating. There's reverse aging. There's matricide. There's a lot of body horror in this book.
Yeah.
Totes body horror. But the illustrations are extremely horrifying. The transformation sequences are really gut wrenching. I think Koga did an amazing job on the visceral. There's a real visceral pull to some of these scenes where it's kind of like a bloody car crash. You really don't want to look, but you're compelled because the work is just so beautifully and I could say disturbing and beautiful in the same sentence.
Oh, sure.
Because that works for me. And I swear, David and Jason, there are flashes of Gene Colan in some of his faces.
Interesting.
Yes. I saw a little bit of Gene, and maybe it's the colorless eyes or the agape mouths that Gene would do that a lot, But
Mm-hmm.
I just thought this book is another freaking winner. But it's really not. I mean, you're going to need a shower after you read this. It's out there. It's really strange. What did you guys think?
I think you hit on a lot of it. I mean, it's first of all, it's which is another cool thing. It's a pretty short manga, right? You described a lot of things, a lot that goes on, but it's only 124 pages. So
I thought it was more than that. Isn't it?
No, it's 124 pages.
What?
Yeah,
No,
but
no, no. Well,
the
no,
PDF
it's
is
more
double
than
page
that
spreads.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
So
So
it's
248. 248.
Yeah, 240 odd pages, and then
But it's one volume. You get in and out.
Oh, right.
It's
Exactly. Yeah.
So which I love. I love that. but yeah, it's. I think the thing that I'll remember most about it is that it was unexpected. What I mean by that is that, whether it's if you're reading like Ito, he sets up a premise and shit can get crazy for sure.
Yeah.
But like, there's a underlying structure to each of his stories. Like, like again with the spiral, or once the conceit is there, the conceit may continue to get more and more pronounced. It may get crazier, but like this was more like kind of what you're saying. He every couple months he's just like, I'm gonna fucking do this now. I'm gonna switch this. I'm gonna do this now.
There's
no rule book. Yeah, there's no rule book to like the metamorphosis. And like you said, there's fucking like reverse aging back to like almost like
so weird. Yeah,
even like a fetus, I guess. Like it's like, and then there's like vampirism, and then there's like it's just strange.
Some like Ripley's Believe It or Not interstitials with like the horns or the skin conditions. It just comes out and it has nothing really to do with the main story. It's just like, oh, and by the way, this has also been reported. It's like,
those pages reminded me a lot of UFO mushroom invasion.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's a very improvisational tone to it. Like, I kind of got the feeling that Koga maybe made it up as he went along.
Yeah, I think so.
And I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's very unpredictable. Like going into a sequence, I never would say, well, you know what? I bet you the Mansect is going to start sucking on a little girl. That's what's like. You would never be able to predict that. It's just so. Or these two fetuses, these two things are going to reverse age into these desiccated fetuses, and then do this thing. Like what?
Yeah, there's like a mummy phase of the book. I mean, it's the man's, but I mean, it's like mummified, and there's like, there's just like, I agree. I get the sense that he was doing this for a living and just got vibes or inspired by different tropes at different points of the creative process, and said, I'm gonna work this into this story, and again, that can go horribly wrong with the wrong hands, right? So I think. Yeah, and I think the thing that's really cool is that this, like I said, it was from 1975, and yet it doesn't feel dated.
No.
It absolutely, if you handed this to someone and said it was drawn in 2025, you'd be like, okay. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've I think we've given a lot of praise to Living the Line in the last 12 months. I think very deservedly so, and I just love their curation process. I love that they find these works that, because we're long into, long gone are the days where like there was just this mountain of all-time great stuff overseas, both in Asia and Europe, that we just didn't get our hands on here, right? Like there's still some, but like it has become a fairly successful cottage industry to import the best of different regions here and translate it into English. We've fortunately over the last, I'd say 15 years, gotten a lot of the all-time great stuff.
Well, I think you can fine-tune that a little bit.
Go ahead.
We've received a lot of the all-time great stuff that was commercially viable. That was judged commercially viable by these publishers.
Sure.
What the Living the Line and what the Smudge imprint does is they're rescuing these things from obscurity. Like, I can guess that these books are not selling One Piece levels.
Oh,
like
right.
no way.
No.
This is for a very, very refined, very particular audience that likes Junji Ito's stuff or Umez, you know what I mean, or Hino, like the real out there horror stuff.
I mean, that's why I ordered UFO book. I mean, just because I was like, that's the kind of manga I
generally me too.
Tend to so.
But they're when I say they're rescuing them, they're preserving this stuff because I have no idea what the status of these works are in Japan, but unknown on this side of the water, and it's a beautiful thing. To take something from 1975 that no one in their right mind,
50 years old, dude. Yeah, 50 years old. Yeah,
no one in their right mind would ever think would have been translated, let alone published in the States. bam, here it is. Like, I'm giddy that they're doing this because I hope that the flow continues, not of the translated works, but I hope that people are buying this stuff enough to have it keep going, because this is a rare instance. Like, Fantagraphics doesn't even do this. Drawn and Quarterly, even the guys that are fishing for manga are looking for stuff that this will probably sell pretty much. I don't think going into any of this that anybody at Living the Line was thinking, man, this is really going to tear up the sales charts. Because I don't think it's possible, but they doesn't seem to be a concern, which is great. Like, let's look at what this stuff is and save it from disappearing completely.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said, so I don't want this come across like I'm disagreeing, but I would say just one nuance is that I do think Drawn and Quarterly deserves some credit because of all the Suge books that they're putting out.
Oh, sure.
I mean, Suge was not a commercially successful creator in Japan when he was in his prime, and I love that they're bringing it over in a form and curating the entire collection of his work as if he's an all-time great, which I think the work speaks for itself. But your point is still well made because that stuff is still far more accessible. It's far more conventional in its storytelling. He just wasn't as well known of a creator.
Right.
Yeah.
I think like Kitaro is commercially more viable than this stuff.
For sure. Yeah. No argument.
But I'm over the moon that this stuff exists. Like, holy crap! I never ever thought there are panels in UFO Mushroom Invasion, Her Frankenstein, the Mansect, that I'm just like, where has this panel been all my life? It's just like they're burned into my brain, and I love them. I don't stop. Don't ever stop, please.
When talking about publishers rescuing older works, I was reminded of NEC, New England Comics, the comic shop that published The Tick. In order to, I guess, make sure that they had funds to continue publishing The Tick, they went and found a lot of old non-EC crime and war comics, all like public domain stuff that they reprinted, packaged up and reprinted, and made them in slightly like either that golden age size style.
Tales Too Terrible to Tell. Remember that?
And yes, and I did pick up some of them, and I mean, and obviously they weren't EC, they weren't as good as what Gaines and Company were putting out, but they were still of that time and evoked that feeling. But I mean, if it's whether they're public domain or something like what Living the Line is doing, like if someone wants to remind new readers, and you're not going to maybe pick this up, or I like Junji Ito, I'll probably love Mansect, and you're not going to do that really at such a younger comic reading age, but at least knowing as you get older and you've kind of gone through everything that's available now that's new, when someone does come out and reminds you or republishes something that hasn't been seen in decades or is older than some of our listeners, it's neat. I seriously appreciate this, and this was a blast. It was weird AF, and I just
because you don't get into the body horror.
I'm not a big body horror dude.
No, I got to the part where the kid's thrown in the closet with the cat with the intestines, and I'm like, Dap's out. He's done.
I wasn't though.
Well, good.
I did.
Good
I powered through it.
Powered through.
I mean, and yeah, it just because everything it's. I mean, yeah, we're not. I'm not trying to give anything away. I'm not trying to spoil any stories, but it was. I thought it was one thing after like the first story kind of concluded. It comes across sort of like an anthology.
It does.
And then just of like, weird shit. But then, and I expected that some of them, I'm like, is that Stephen King? Is he about to say meteor shit? But like, I'm looking at some of these and and then whether or not the threads may find their way or something is recalled from an earlier, it's just, it was a wild, wild tale, and yeah, definitely. I don't have this month's preview, so I don't know if it's in this. Did they say it's coming out in February?
It was in last month's previews.
So it will be for February. Okay, so December's for February.
It comes out February 26th.
Yeah.
Yes,
but we also got a glimpse at a lot of books that are further in your future, and holy crap! Like to a book, they're all really good looking. Didn't read them yet because don't want to jump the gun, but yeah, Living the Line and Smudge, the future's looking really bright, really amazing stuff. So just put them on your pull list, or whenever you see the pop up in the previews, Living the Line, Smudge, just order them. Just do it.
Do it.
Yeah. What else do we have?
I don't know. Discord keeps closing on me. I have no idea why. Like, literally just the app keeps closing. Like twice now, it just literally I look like it just closed down to reload the app. It's so strange. Anyway, weird. Okay. That's a new one on me. Interesting.
Well, I know. I was surprised to see that. Actually, I probably shouldn't have been surprised to see it, Jason, since I didn't read the first book. But Aster of Pan has a sequel.
Yeah. It's interesting. So I loved Aster of Pan, which was I don't even remember how many years ago it came out. Maybe 4.
Is it that long ago? Jesus.
Yeah, well, a couple years ago. Let's just say a couple, because I don't remember exactly when. But it's by Merwan. It was part of the long line of magnetic books that were just crushing it for that period of time. Where they just really couldn't miss. And I talked about it at the time. It was, for those that don't remember, the first volume was a post-apocalyptic story. It's set in the 2060s. And basically, it's a feudal state or tribal state, and the crux of it is that a group of young kids, almost like Hunger Games style, have to fight in this game that's kind of like dodgeball meets like war. It's like dodgeball with consequences, and in essence, they end up having to play this contest where if they win the contest, their small city state can soldier on. If they lose, they're going to get subsumed. It sounds convoluted in retrospect, because again, I it's been years since I had notes to recap it, but it was a lot of fun. It was really creative, and Merwan's art really felt well, both in terms of the post-apocalyptic setting, which you all know I love, but also the fact that it was this clever take of kind of like sportifying the end days, which spoke to me. So they solicited the sequel, Aster of Pan: The Source, and another successful Kickstarter, as Magnetic is wont to do. And I just got the book maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago maybe, and checked it out. I will say a couple things. One, the art is astounding again. I mean, Merwan's art is beautiful. It's very much manga influenced, his style, even though he's a French cartoonist. He's very much, it's manga-esque. It actually looks a lot like the art we see in Last Man. I think it's very evocative in that. It's just it's full color though. It's full painted color, so it's got a little bit of more of a richness and depth to it than the Last Man stuff, which is meant, I think, be more like a little bit more consumable, fast read. But I will say, I liked it a lot. But it's I would be lying to our lovely listeners if I said it hit me in the same way the first volume did. I enjoyed it, but inevitably, this book is kind of like the aftermath. Well, it isn't kind of. It is the aftermath. It takes place literally the day after the last book ends, and I think the progression of what happens from there is perfectly logical and well executed. But I really enjoyed the gamification part of it, like the idea that they were all trying to play this game, and Aster, who is the lead, that's the name of the heroine of the book. She's like this preternaturally good player at this, right? Like she's reluctant. They have no interest in making her part of the team, and she kind of rises up Rudy style, and then ends up being the hero of the book, which was cool. Like it was kind of that, rooting for the underdog, and the underdog ends up being a badass. That really isn't in this book as much because the game already happened, so it's kind of like what's happened after that, and they're their need to survive the aftermath. So again, like, it was good, but it didn't hit me like Aster of Pan was one of my favorite books of the year that it came out. This wouldn't. I don't see this making sort of next year's O'Closkers, you know. Like, certainly good. If you like the first one and you pre-ordered this, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. But it didn't hit me in the same way. It wasn't like a holy shit, like, y'all got to read this book, you know. Like, I think if you read the first one and enjoyed it, you don't necessarily need to read this one, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, no, it does.
Well, before you give up the baton, why don't you two tag on something you both read?
What would you like? What would you like us to tag on? Aquaman?
Sure.
Yeah,
Oh.
we can do that.
Yeah. Well, Aquaman, Dap must love it because it's drawn by his boo.
Oh, dude. Aquaman's never looked better. Oh, man.
John
If they bring
all
back,
up in that piece.
if they bring back the blue and white camouflage during this run, so we've got, yeah, this is post Absolute Power. Arthur Curry has not, he's his power sets changed a little bit. He now also is the wielder of Mira's, his wife's, hydrokinesis, and she's basically kind of his mentor in how to use it. But it's the looks like the first arc is going to well. We start off with a double page spread of Aquaman as the God Killer, but the bulk of the issue takes place a year before, and I do. This is written by Jeremy Adams, art as Jace pointed out, John Timms, colors by Rex Locus, and I do. There have been a plethora of writers on Aquaman over the decades, and
For sure.
and Adams, I think, has the little I've that we get from this issue, at least. I like it. Aquaman, Arthur is king, and of course
Reluctant king as usual, like hates the bureaucracy.
He'd rather probably be doing anything else, but we do get to see him being a hero. We do get to see him having to deal with being a king. Jackson, the Aqualad, he stops by to let him know that they found a pearl, and Arthur's like, "Well, there's nothing odd about finding a pearl in the ocean, my man." So he says, "No, but Garth believes it has magical properties." So Jackson has a bad feeling about it. So Arthur says, "Listen, if anything comes up, if you need me, just find me." And then while he is handling his kingly duties, there's trouble in Florida at Daytona Beach. So he goes and he handles his business there, and then heads back home. Unfortunately, there is a blinding light before he reaches Atlantis, and it's gone. Basically, remnants of structures. It looks as though it's been pillaged, but family, nobody is there. It's an empty husk of a kingdom. The only thing that is there is this pearl. So he heads over to the watchtower, and Zatanna.
He's pretty calm about it.
He is, I think, but I think he just, I think his demeanor comes across where he's just like, "Where is Batman?" And Firestorm's like, "He's in the lab." So I mean, we kind of get the impression that it's a bit tense, but yeah, he's not.
I'd be wilding out though if like my kid and wife was gone. Yeah, I'd be wilding out. Yeah.
And he's probably seen some shit over the years, so it's just like, okay, well,
that's true. That's true. That's true.
But you still though, it is his wife and kid.
Yeah.
So Zatanna's trying to figure out what the hell the pearl might be, and Batman and Wonder Woman accompany Arthur back to the water, where there's this kind of looks like almost looks like a wreath because it's covered with foliage, and it's but it also kind of looks a little bit like a gate or a portal, and the pearl starts glowing, and it's the next couple of pages are just it's a new issue. I'm not trying to give everything away. The last page is a bit of a can be a bit of a dick punch, but it's I don't know what the hell is going to happen with Arthur on the other side. I will be here to find out next issue. But the little pep talk that Bruce and Diana give him, I appreciate it. It definitely felt like the two of them. I think Adams has a good handle. I say that often, but I think he's got a good handle on these characters. At least, as I'm not saying he can go ahead and write the Justice League or something with a whole group of them, but the few panels we get with a bunch of characters together, they sound as though the same characters I've been reading for years. So nothing seems off there. But the art's absolutely fantastic. The colors are popping. But yeah, if I haven't sat down to read an Aquaman comic in a good long while, but this was this almost. I don't want to say that this felt like a welcome home. It was close, but it definitely feels like an Aquaman book. It's present day Aquaman, member of the Justice League Unlimited, so you have all of that DC all in bells and whistles connected to it. But yeah, I thought it was a solid first issue.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I after I was done reading it, I thought, well, Aquaman is like one of those characters who, if someone were to ask me, am I a fan? I'd say, yeah, I'm a fan of Aquaman. But then I think but really great Aquaman books are few and far between. I tried them all. Right, I read the Peter. You guys remember a few years ago, I read all the Peter David stuff finally, and it's like even that stuff. Like it's not like there have not been many legitimately great Aquaman stories. Like in my opinion, like even the ones that we put out there when people are like, what should I read with Aquaman, and we throw them out there, like they're like even like Time and Tide stuff. I don't think they're that good. Like they're not like great stories, and it's like. My man, I don't know that he's had many, if any, like truly great standalone runs. I mean, there've been moments, but and yet I do view myself as a fan of the character, and it got me thinking. Like, we all must. I'm sure everyone listening, we all must have characters that we consider ourselves fans of, but like, it's really just more out of like what we think they could be. And like what they actually have been, right? And like more like both big two, I'm sure have these characters, right? Like I mean, you could say like, well, some people will throw their laptop across the room, but like Iron Man, right? Or like there's just characters like there've been hundreds of stories about them, and sure there are like the demon, like there are points that you can point to say those are legit, but like for the volume of the issues that have been put out with these characters, you're like, it's like more like.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I think the example of Iron Man is perfect because there are highs in the Iron Man run, but for the most part, Iron Man was lousy for years.
Yeah. How much do you remember between Demon in a Bottle and Extremis?
For sure, dude.
Armor Wars.
For sure.
I liked Armor Wars was pretty good.
And Ryan stuff, sure, okay.
Yeah. But even that, like, I don't know if that's great comics. It's just at the time,
I wasn't a fan of Extremis either, but
me neither.
But that's when it's Warren Ellis and Eddie Granoff, and like so it was like supposed to be some big return, and of course they also used it in the third movie. But yeah, it is. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I also agree about Aquaman, but. I think, again, Aquaman fans are always hoping for a return to that story that they love so much about, the character. For me, it's Sword of Atlantis. I love Sword of Atlantis. And I don't think, after Sword of Atlantis, I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to read some fucking Aquaman. And the more I read, the more I realized that nothing even comes close to this Sword of Atlantis. So I'm not going to try anymore.
Yep.
And I think... most of it is in terms of the art. I don't think Aquaman has ever had a top tier artist.
I agree.
Maybe on the miniseries, the one that Dap likes with the blue, wasn't that Nestor
Craig Hamilton and it was P. Craig Russell. It was It was.
I'm thinking Nestor Redondo or one of the. I don't know, but I mean, it looked very good. But I don't even remember what happened in that miniseries.
Yeah,
It just
they
looks
ended up
good.
retconning some of it too.
Dude, I'm today years old for. Is Bruno Redondo related to Nestor Redondo?
Who knows?
I never thought of that until you just said Nestor Redondo, and then I'm like, well, wait a minute.
See what I did? I did that. That was me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Don't you dare jump down here. She thinks she
Yeah,
can do
honestly, don't
whatever
know
she
either.
wants. Yeah. But yeah, I don't. Yeah.
But I like that. I'm with that. But I like it. I mean, I would definitely get the next couple issues. Like if it maintains this vibe and quality, and I certainly like. I like the art. I'm gonna stick with it for a bit. You know, I can't because it's Aquaman. I can't say I'm gonna like be in for the long haul. But
Right.
but yeah, the first issue was I thought it was good. It was like a good superhero book, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm here. I'm here for it.
Good
for what it is. I gotta say, like, and I know Dap is right to not like the last page kind of left me like, I was like,
They're tying everything into this
because
character.
it feels
It's like,
right.
dude,
It feels like we like the whole. It just feels like we're building to like the next Crisis style thing. You know, it's like okay. Like, am I going to get that in every book? Like,
it's like Waller's off the board, Lex is off the board.
yeah, because
Louis is
listen,
left.
I mean. I haven't enjoyed DC on a relative basis to Marvel more than I am right now ever. But this could be the thing that gets me to be like, like
Right.
if it's like if I'm just inundated with this whole idea of
too much.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I'm gonna be like, all right, bro. Like,
Well, you know, it says all in on the cover. I mean, it's a double-edged
it
sword.
does. It does. You're right about that. You're right about that.
I'm just,
They're
I don't mean to
downplaying.
be that person, but, you know, nature of the beast, right?
Yeah,
You're right.
Oh yeah,
You're right.
no, it's still Big Two Comics.
Yeah.
The writer of that Volume 2 miniseries is Neil Posner, Craig Hamilton on pencils, Steve Montano on inks. And what
There
I
you
love
go.
about that miniseries is like everything else from the mid '80s was pretty much lettered by Bob Lappin, and I love his letters. He did amazing on Justice League, and he does not get any love really, but he's one of my favorite letters.
Nice.
Cool
But yeah,
beans.
after you read this first issue, go and look for the Aquaman Volume 2, and then you can also forget what it was about.
So then you can read sort of Atlantis and not know what the fuck is going on because it's
True.
it doesn't. Yeah, it's totally out there. I mean, hesitate to
Aquaman-
even call it an Aquaman story because it is, but it's
Yeah, it's something.
yeah, it is. My man Kirk can write.
He gets as much respect. Arthur Curry gets as much respect as Carter Hall.
How many times has King Shark flipped? He's heel. He's face.
Dude, he's
heel.
like the Big Show.
Like, honest to God. He's yesterday. You have to ask him a question like, "What side are you on this week?" Because you know. All right. Again, nothing but manga. Yes.
All manga all the time, baby.
Lay it on us.
I got another one. This book is amazing, and it's early in the run. So if you want to get in, I would suggest getting in now. This is volume 2, written and illustrated by Manabu Yashiro,
Oh yeah.
and it's published by Kodansha. It is Tank Chair, volume 2. You're looking for something inventive, unpredictable, kinetic, violent, surprising, I would implore you to read Tank Chair. Like I talked about the first volume not too long ago, so I'm not going to rehash it. If you want the ground floor of Tank Chair, just go back a couple episodes. It's like maybe 10. This volume continues the fun in quotes. You have the siblings, Nagi and Shizuka. Now remember, Nagi was a student along with his sister Shizuka in this academy, right? And he was so good at what he did, extremely effective assassin, that he rose in the ranks and he was like regarded as one in a gazillion. Like this kid is amazingly adept at what he does. They saw him as not a messiah of assassins, but along those lines. Like he was just the target of either extreme scorn or worship. And he took a bullet to the brain, protecting his sister. So he's comatose until he is faced with a emotion that suggests that something is planning grievous bodily harm to him, like murderous intent. If his body detects that there's murderous intent coming from somewhere directed at him, he snaps out of the coma and becomes this unstoppable murder machine in a tank chair. It's a wheelchair, but it's a device for killing. And like Iron Man, there are various marks. There's a Mark 1 tank chair, there's a Mark 2 tank chair, blah 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 down the line. So when this volume opens, the siblings are still on the run from the academy, and they're bouncing around Guichang Island. Every 12 hours, they got to find, well, because he's comatose, she has to find some new place, some new safe house in which to sequester themselves, because there are people looking for them to kill them, right? All at the behest of this bizarre sensei that's in charge of the academy. She's a real odd duck. I don't want to get too much into that. I think, again, like the Mansect, a lot of the fun and the joy is experiencing these weird off-kilter characters for yourself. Returning in this volume are the underdog assassins, another set of siblings, Naozumi Kurosaka and his genetically enhanced Amazonian sister, Tuko. Big blonde, big giant blonde, whose powers seem to come from gas canisters. She's got gas canisters on her waist, and she has like the what's the character in Mad Max that wears the face mask? The fucking white-haired idiot. Yeah. She looks kind. She's got a mask over her nose and mouth, but she's really cute. But she didn't start off that way. She was a little mousy little girl before she was enhanced.
So she's Bane.
Bigger than Bane. She's a giant woman. Yeah, she's not all ripped though. But Sensei has laid the entire operation on Naozumi's lap. She's like, you are going to find Naga and you're going to bring him to me. You're going to take him out. You're going to do it, or you're going to lose your life and your sister too. But like the Sensei has a lot of ducks in the water, because the new ace up Sensei's sleeve is this enigmatic character called Uzo. This guy's crazy. He's a powerhouse. Has a skull mask. The guy rides into his first scene on an ICBM. He rides a missile into the scene, and he just hops off the missile, and the missile blows up a city block, and he's like, what up? But he's very smart, because he's done his research. He knows that Nagi powers up when murderous intent is directed his way. So what does he do? Mm-hmm. He goes through Guichang Island and he culls all the criminal element. He starts taking guys out left and right. He's carrying a garbage bag full of heads because he's just killing these people that would have gone after Nagi in order to eliminate that murderous intent so as not to make Nagi powerful. Like, that's just smart, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Greatly reduce the murderous intent directed at Nagi, and you're going to greatly reduce his power. I mean, it's once you know, right? And there's this one scene he's taunting Nagi. It's like Spider-Man crouching on the gargoyle in the middle of the rain. He's on the end of this scaffolding, and he just projects this murderous intent. He's like, kill. And it's like a shockwave that emanates from his body. And people are dropping, cars are crashing into poles, like shit's hitting the fan. And somewhere within the safe house, Nagi's eyes open. And so something's got to be done, right? So Shizuka's like, we got to go to Dr. Radio. And he's like, we can't. She's like, no, we got to go to Dr. Radio. And you're thinking, who the hell is this Dr. Radio? Dr. Radio is the inventor of the tank chairs.
Aha.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm not going to spoil the beans. Dr. Radio is not what you expect. Just read the book, right? So Shizuka wants Dr. Radio to build the mythical No-Mark tank chair. She's like, we got to do this. We got to build the chair. And Dr. Radio's like, we don't have what we need. Supposedly, the No-Mark tank chair is powered by a metal. It's a metal that shifts its shape and hardness in response to the brainwaves of the bearer. So that's
it's like the metal men metal.
Kind of, yeah. So it's a metal men chair of death.
Yeah.
But there's one scene in it. I gotta spoil it because if you're not reading Tank Chair, you will read this. So it has been established that whenever Nagi goes into battle, he's in this superpowered, a version of the superpowered tank chair, whether it be compact or extended or has like each mark of the tank chair has a function, specific function, right?
Okay.
So earlier in the book, they're on the run, they're in the safe houses, and they're beset by assassins. They don't have access to a tank chair. So what do? They improvise. There's a full-page splash of the two of them on an office chair. And it's so stupid. They're going into battle and they're like, no mark chair, office chair. And it's dumb. It's silly, but it made me giggle because it's just so unpredictable and fun. And they obviously they take out the assassins, but in an office chair because that's what he does. Nagi can't walk, but he can kill the shit out of you with his giant arms. And it's just such a fun book. It's all murder all the time. Like there's just people getting killed left and right. There's a neat flashback to the metal, or flash forward could be, where this thing has a sword and it plunges into the ground. And the person on the other end's like, what the fuck okay, so you stuck your sword in the ground, but the sword's metal. So underneath the ground, it splits into teens or I don't want to say 100, but a lot. It splits into a lot of tendrils that spike up out of the ground like Vlad the Impaler on a rampage. Like it's just all these things pop up and it's just one sword, but it got the mental command to split under. It's cool. It's so neat. Read Tank Chair. It is so damn good.
Sounds hella fun, I gotta say.
It is fun. You can come into this and be like, all right, all that heavy shit that I read, I don't have, just breathe a sigh of relief because it's all just high caliber, high octane killing. And
nice.
There's something going on because there's, like I said, there's two pair of siblings. It could be a thematic thing. I don't know. They could eventually join up somewhere down the line. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. Like most manga, I don't go into it looking to see, in most instances, how many volumes it is currently in Japan. Like, I don't care. This thing could be 30 volumes, whatever. Bring it on. Because then once you know, if this is on, say, volume 30 in Japan currently, and we only got 2 volumes, well, you're just like, okay, there's a stretch that I'm going to have to read to get there. But what happens, then now you know that whatever the events of the current storyline, it's probably going to come out in the main character's favor. I mean, it's got 28 more volumes to go at least. So
right,
what do you do? How do you your reaction to the events is diminished somewhat because you know information that you shouldn't know. So that's why I don't like to look ahead for a lot of these things. But yeah, and he has a pseudo Jason Kamen Rider mask thing going on when he's in the tank chair. I just love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Tank chair. Written and illustrated by Manabu Yashiro, published by Kodansha. Get it on it now, because it's only on volume 2.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Real quick, just piggybacking off you, don't need to go into any great detail, because I talked about it last week, but as promised, I did receive volumes 2 and 3 of Hirayasumi, and which Kaigo Shinzo, and it continues to be badass. Second and third volumes were just as delightful as the first. So I am now anxiously awaiting for the fourth volume, which I believe comes out in 2 months.
So that's the best feeling in the world when you're up to date on a manga and then you get the new volume and it's like a couple hundred pages. It's like, whoa.
This would be a first for me, I think. I don't know that I've ever been like up to date on a manga that was coming out. Maybe 20th Century Boys, I guess, when that was coming out. But
Yeah, but even that
been
was
a long
only
time.
like, what,
It's been a long
12? That was 12.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, it's super sweet.
nice.
I finally, I mean, the fourth issue was late or delayed, and I mean, Ryan even told us that at New York, but finally finished From the Minds, from the World of Minor Threats. Barfly. This was written by Kyle Starks, plotted by Starks with Patton Oswalt and Jordan Bloom. Art, of course, which that's the star of the show. Ryan Brown, colors by Brownie and Kevin Nipstein, and you just you got to feel for Shit Eater. He just he really is.
Eat shit.
He's a sad sack. I mean, you know, he's a fly with no wings. Is what the hell's purpose does he serve? But we see a lot of the of the heroes of this city in the last couple of issues of this miniseries. Sunburst is basically the Green Lantern analog, and he well also Shit Eater's the dude he was the henchman for has busted out of prison and is still abusing this guy, this giant fly. But he has a mission, and it's to basically just get revenge on everybody and everything. And Sunburst is part of that plan, and it doesn't go really well for our heroes for a while, but still the sound effects is a delight. At every panel, if someone is doing some sort of action in any way, shape, or form, like when the entomologist's main hench fly is talking shit about Shit Eater, and he grabs Shit Eater's guitar and breaks it, and he can't just in the panel where he grabs the guitar, it actually just says the sound effect is guitar gank, and then when it gets smashed to the ground, the sound effect is Townshend.
Oh boy.
It's ridiculous. There's one where there's a giant where there was a spider that was capturing throwing everybody in webs, and when Sunburst shows up and beheads it, the sound effect is Charlotte's dead. It's silly, and it's great, and it's violent AF. It's not necessarily gory because Ryan has fun when he draws people being dismembered or insects being blown up. That's the other thing. It's mostly insects that are being harmed in the making of this feature. But the last issue, there's moments where you think things might just go according to plan, or at least in our heroes. Well, the Barfly anyway is much of a hero as he can be in this miniseries. Our hero's way. There is because he has a crush on his coworker at the burger pit. She has a horrible singing voice, but he really wants her to be in their punk rock band. And even that, you think we might have a happy end. But in this world, with these characters, when drawn by Ryan Brown, no, not really. So it was a lot of fun. It's probably, and I haven't read it yet, so I haven't read everything in this little universe. But this is absolutely one of my favorite things to come out of Dark Horse in the last couple of years. in a massive part because of the creative team. We are fans of Kyle Starks. We are fans of Ryan Brown. So this, I mean, this could have been a book about anything. It didn't have to have anything to do with minor threats. They could have got and write anything. I'm sure I would have been entertained, but because of the connection it has with an ongoing series, or at least its spin-offs, it is quite fun. So yeah, I think the trade's been solicited, but
it has.
I had a lot of fun with it.
2 months ago, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
FYI, you're breaking up like crazy.
Oh, I wasn't sure that was me or him. Yeah,
No,
I could hear him breaking up.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Wow.
I like the Scott Hepburn stuff. I mean, come on, Scott Hepburn. He's
from the main series, yeah,
very, very good. But I will say that I think Mr. Brown elevated this stuff. From what I've seen, it's as good as the Hepburn stuff, but in my opinion, it has a little bit of an edge because I love that crazy ass world that Ryan Brown operates from.
Yes.
I think it's a perfect pairing.
Yeah, he's perfect for that kind of book for sure.
Yeah. And I know he didn't break the bank on this thing, but I'm glad that it exists because it's one of those things that you uncover different or additional things every time you open it because he just puts all that stupid energy into the damn sound effects. Like he loves to do that. And most people be just like, they blow by it. And it's like, he has this fixation on the weird minutia of the things that he does. Like, and it was in
his mind is a scary place. But
it was in the God Hates Astronaut stuff where you would get all these weird ass sound effects or just goofy shit in the background that really didn't interact with the story writ large, but he puts it in there anyway. And it's like I would think that if you were trapped between Ryan's ears for any amount of time, you would come out of it like you'd be broken. You'd be crazy. But that's a compliment because I think he's uniquely suited to do this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't return to the works of a lot of once it hits the shelves. I have to be really compelled to go back. Like I can't tell you how many times I've gone back through the God Hates Astronaut stuff just to look for shit that I may have missed. And it's like, I look through it, it's like you're fucking crazy, dude. You are crazy.
There's always something you're going to miss in a ride.
Blast Furnace 2 is the same way, which is really him just creating a new total free his mind and spur of the moment, whatever he felt like drawing, he drew.
Yeah, it must really be exhausting to be Ryan Brown because it feels that way to me.
I don't know. I feel like he lives a pretty charmed life these days.
He does, and he does good work.
Yes.
Like Lucky Devils.
Got his lovely wife and his kiddos and the cat, and he makes the good wages now thanks to the books he does with Soul. So I think he's eating.
Speaking of that, Lucky Devils came out yesterday.
It did, and I was going to say both a Ryan Brown and Kyle Starks O-Rama because I read Where Monsters Lie Cull-De-Sac's number 2 and 3 this week, which 3 came out this week, but yeah. So that's an interesting book. I'm not sure it's like a good story. Like in the sense, like it's like there's not much of a story there, but it's so fucking absurd, and the characters are so ridiculous, and like they're so depraved. It's wildly entertaining, even though like you don't need much. You don't need to be, you don't need Usual Suspects level intricacy for this to be entertaining.
The thing I like about it is he's exploiting horror and exploitation tropes to create this mythology that it's kind of like we always say that if you build something into your story that returns or generates memories of a character that it's not, but it is somewhat like the Shape or Freddy or Jason. Like there are characters in this book that are fashioned in a way that it makes you think of other characters from which they were somewhat derived or based, right? That's a lot of the groundwork done already, you know? And I like the fact that he's building this mythology around these characters that have ties somewhat to these horror film characters. Whether you're aware of them, it enhances the story. If you're not, it's not a detriment because the stories are,
right.
You know what I mean? They're fully formed. I like that. I get a real Nightbreed feel from this thing. Not
interesting.
Yeah, I love Nightbreed, but it's just like all these monsters, you know, acting together in this community. You know, unlike Nightbreed, these monsters they're killing machines and you know, they do what they do, you know. They're not the X-Men of the Monsterverse, but they're killers, and because that's, you know, you can't take the boy out of Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah. They go to Site C in issue number 3, which is they're
still on the run, huh?
Yeah, and it's all the villains in Site C, they're all cannibals. They eat and they kill. That's all they do. So they're all
not necessarily in that order.
That's true. Exactly.
Is it a cannibal holocaust?
Boy.
Widely regarded as the impetus for the found footage phenomenon. I don't know if I agree with that, but such as it is. Yeah.
Such as it is.
Yeah. What else do we have? Let me see your list, Jason. I'll pull something from your list.
Well, there's something I want to talk about.
Okay.
It was
Fuck you, Vince.
Right. No. Because it makes for an interesting. I think it made for an interesting conversation, like the read-in conversation, which is Big Jim and the White Boy. Now,
I was looking at that and I was interested in like, what the hell is that?
So it's well. First of all, on a basic level, it is a reimagining of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Now, I was actually talking to my son after I read this. I was talking to my sons about this because they still, they don't read, like when we were coming up. Almost everybody read Huckleberry Finn in school, like it was a school book. That kind of went by the dodo bird, I'd say 20 years ago. But I assume you guys have read it. I know I had to read it back in the day, but it is a incredibly racist book, right?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
And that's why it's been banned, because first of all, the N-word is all throughout it. And again, I mean, it was written at a time when, it was about for those that don't know the story, it's basically a story of a young boy named Huck Finn and his and a slave named Jim, and they go on an adventure together, basically. And the original book, we don't have to spend a lot of time talking about the original Mark Twain work. Let's just say it hasn't aged well, and it's largely not shared or academically much anymore. But this was written, the new book, Big Jim and the White Boy. It's actually, the title of the book is Big Jim and the White Boy, an American Classic Reimagined. It's written by a friend of the show, David F. Walker.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what kind of drew me to it, because I think he's a phenomenal writer. And it's illustrated by a gentleman whose work I was not familiar with, Marcus Kwame Anderson. And this came out in October of 2024. So like I said, it's a reinterpretation of Huck Finn, but from the vantage of Jim. And David and Kwame are trying to tell it in a way that would have been a truer version of what it would have been like to have an escaped slave at the time traveling with a young, white boy, right? Like it was told from this book is told from his narrative. So the structure of the book and the perspective of the book is phenomenal, right? And they even do some really smart things, like it's non-linear. Like the book actually bounces around from the 1850s to the 1930s to even the modern, like to the current times. And the way they do that is they have a professor of African American studies, a modern professor, talking about the book, and she's and in this, and it's all fictionalized, but she's in the story she is an ancestor of Jim's, right? Like, so there's multi-generational, and I think David uses really phenomenally by jumping through those time periods. He uses that as a way to help structure the experience of Black Americans from slavery to now, and how sort of the evolution of that communication, the way we talk about Black Americans and the history of it, like how it's changed, the way that we frame these things has changed. And so, like, totally in my wheelhouse, like 100% the kind of thing that I'm fascinated by and interested in experiencing. So, like, I love everything about the book, save for, Marcus is a very talented illustrator, but I think where the book wasn't quite a grand slam for me is that I think this book was designed, probably intentionally, to be accessible as a middle school type of a book, like an all ages book. And so Marcus's artwork is very functional in that regard, but it's not like he doesn't. How do I say this? Because I don't want to sound like I'm insulting. Like, the art is functionally, like, it's effective, but it's not. There's nothing unique or differentiated in the art that makes it feel magical, like the way that we read, like that we want to get from comics, right? Where it's the marriage of these two things, and the art is perfectly captivating in a way that fully brings you into this narrative structure. I didn't think the art didn't ever pull me in, didn't have that tractor beam that I like from comics and what makes me love comics. So I can't tell you that I thought it was phenomenal, because I thought the art was perfectly fine, but it wasn't special, if that makes sense. But everything else about it, the structure of the way they tell the story itself, the voices that we're hearing, and the way that they reinterpreted it, I loved all of that. So super recommend the book in that regard. I just I can't in good conscience say that it was an absolute banger, though, because the art didn't quite match for me the quality of the narrative. So, but really super interesting, and as an academic work, I think it's totally worthy. And I would love if instead of Huck Finn, this was handed to my kids in middle school. That would be great, because it would foster a much better conversation about both what it was like to be Black back then, but also how things have changed over time, and how what things have changed, and frankly what things haven't changed. So really super applaud the effort, and I think Walker crushed it. But again, the art just didn't quite hit me in the way I'd hoped it would.
Right. Yeah, it's a sticky wicket. The original Huck Finn.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah.
It's a sticky
and I was
wicket.
just because this is worth mentioning. There's an there's an intro prologue in the book where David acknowledges that he used the N word. The N word is omnipresent in this book, and he actually addresses that up front by saying, I want to address this because if you know me personally, David speaking, he's like, I don't use that word. That's not a word I use. I find it offensive. It's not but I felt it was absolutely necessary to keep it in the book because of what the story is about, and that is how almost everyone that Jim encountered at that time would have referred to him like that. You know what I mean? But it is worth mentioning, because I think that would, again, that can be, that the use of that word can in and of itself be a reason people might not want to read it, if that's, that could be a deal breaker for people. So I did want to mention it.
Right. For sure.
I'm of two minds on the original.
Okay.
And again, everybody knows this is coming from a white dude. So whatever I have to say,
I mean, you're Sicilian, so it's
take
fine.
it. That's what I usually say, but I think
it's right when
it's a joke. But again, that could be offensive to some people too.
No, I know.
Right.
I was totally yes. I know. Totally. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
But
Just kidding.
so White Dude, I think it's very important to not have the original Huckleberry Finn fade into obscurity. I think the book should be added to current curriculum because I think it's a learn by example type thing that I can't see anyone, and this is where you run the risk of trouble. I can't see anyone with half a brain reading that book and coming out of it thinking that's the way to be. They had the shit back then. That was an awesome time to live. Mm-hmm. You learn that it's a very demeaning word. It reduces a whole group of people to a very, very offensive word. But here's where we run into trouble. As we see out our windows, there's a whole lot of stupid people.
Yeah.
In America. And I'm just like, a lot of people would use this. A lot of uninformed, unintelligent people would use the book as a guidebook instead of a cautionary tale not to be this way, not to treat people in this manner. But they're just words on paper, but these words have a whole lot of power. And I think it should be like, I would want my kids and grandkids to read this just to learn that it's like people were assholes back then. They just didn't. You know how? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was going to say the because you just sparked another memory. David Walker addresses that as well. He says, and I kind of guess to lean with him after reading his essay. His issue with the original Huck Finn isn't necessarily that he agrees with you that it shouldn't fade into obscurity because it's an important cultural touchstone about what it was like back then. But his issue with the book isn't so much like the N-word and the sort of in your face racism. It's that the portrayal of Jim is offensive in that Jim is portrayed as this almost like childlike, brute, like, and he speaks in that, horribly racist, like
Green Mile, like the Green Mile.
Yeah, exactly. And that Jim wouldn't have, and in his mind, Jim wouldn't have been that. Jim would have been a reasonably educated man who was well, so that's the other thing about the book. Like, there's a moment early in the book which I thought was so powerful, where so Jim and Huck are on their adventure, and they, the ferry boat part, that's probably the most famous part of the book, but they're on the ferry boat part, and the ne'er-do-wells, the sort of the white criminals are, confronting Jim and Huck, and in the original work, right, like Jim is doing the, that bullshit, like yes, mouse, that kind of thing, and in this book, up until this point, Jim is like super well spoken, right, and he code switches in the graphic novel to speak to them that way, and after all the ordeal is over, Huck's like, Jim, why were you talking to them like that? And Jim is like, because that's how they expected me to talk.
Because I'm saving my life, my friend. Because
that's what he said. No, he said, "Well, I was saving your life." He's like, I had to disarm them by speaking to them in the way that they expected that I would be, Right. And I was like, that's the kind of thing why I say this book is worth reading, because it's like, oh man, that's a beautiful reinterpretation of that scene, right? Like, and there's other things like in this, like, and there's some historical context to all this, which again, we don't have the time or nor do I have the recall of it all to get into, but like in this, like, Jim is a family, like in the original novel, he's a family man, but like we never hear anything about it. Like, it's just mentioned offhand that he's got like a wife and kids and stuff, like. But in this, we see that like the wife and kids are a part of the book. They take Huck in. They almost sort of adopt him, because Huck is an abused. He's a effectively a kid on the run. He was an abused kid that ends up, I guess we can't spoil a book from 1850, right? Like, that's, Jim kills Huck's dad in to save Huck, like in both stories. But like, so it's just, the whole thing is like I said, it's a really, really thoughtful, well done work. I just, I just wish the art hit me a little more. That's all.
Yeah. And you see, I don't want to go down another rabbit hole, but you see that kind of shifting of presenting oneself in the manner that one thinks that whoever they're addressing wants to receive them in. Look at the streets. Like, there are guys that act all thug and shit on the streets, and they're the most well-spoken, intelligent. Like, it's just people shift.
Yeah, it's called
themselves based on what they
Yeah.
think is required in certain situations, and it's just like that. I don't think that ever goes away, right?
No, it doesn't. Yeah. And a lot of us code switch.
Is that what it's called?
Without, it's called code switching. Without even a racial overtone. Like, I speak in many different ways, right? Like, I have a
you do
work corporate speak. I have a slang. That's just because I love language. But I'm saying I don't do it. Generally speaking, code switching is a protective mechanism, right? It's a mechanism generally 100%. But I think lots of people, myself included, do what you might refer to as code switching just because we adapt to the environment, like we feel comfortable.
Yeah, and it's also lazy. Yeah. It's also lazy too. Because if everybody stopped doing it, then people would be themselves.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, this sounds really good. Yep.
It is really good. It is really good. And it's one of those books, like I'd said last week, where I read 4 books from the compilation that I had done of best of it. It's way up there on the list, by the way, of best comics that, in the compilation list. So I thought, oh, this is right up my alley. And like I said, it's excellent. It didn't elevate to the point where it was like a contender for my list, but it was worth.
I think it's also a very risky and brave endeavor too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Listen, David Walker just suffers no fools, right? He's
right.
That's true.
So.
Yep. Cool beans, Jason. Look at you. Finally bringing something decent to the table. Hey, everybody. If you want to get your stuff and get it cheap and get it fast and get something else on top of it, go to cheapgraphicnovels.com. OGNs, manga, omnibus editions, trade paperbacks, drastically reduced in price. You can get a little more sauce on the meat by getting free shipping on your second order. Plus, there's a lot of specials to boot. Please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. And if you like what you heard from this episode, wherever you listen, leave us a little review. We would appreciate it. Hopefully it's just a star system where you can just click on whatever star you think is appropriate and go on your merry way. But maybe you might have to write something. But whatever, just take 2 seconds, give us a little review. It matters. It really does. To keep the manga train a-rolling. Yeah, I'm not going to go too deep on this, but it was very surprising. As I've mentioned before, as recent as episode 908, I really enjoyed the Tree of Death Tomotsuhegui series, but the surprising thing is that it ended with the 3rd volume, which is crazy short for manga. 3 volumes? And you're done?
Yeah.
What?
That's like Food Truck Wars, and there aren't too many that do.
What's happening? Which in like the food truck, I was thinking, was this not well received in Japan? Like, you would automatically assume that if a story's clicking or catching fire with people, that they wouldn't end it with the 3rd volume. So I don't know what the deal was with this, whether it just didn't connect with readers or it was a predestined ending. I don't know, but Tree of Death Tomotsuhegui ended with the 3rd volume, written and illustrated by Masamune Kakizaki, published by 7 Seas. It was originally serialized in the monthly Young magazine from 2021 to 2023. The cool thing about this is that it's kind of abrupt because, like I explained before, Nawa, who is the arm of the Shinigami, is going around culling all the undying, all the people whose bodies house a seed from the Tree of Death, right? And he's doing a really good job, an exceptional job, to the point where the last ones left are the original 7. And I'm thinking, okay, now the book is going to kick into high gear because we got these 7 extremely powerful seed bearers, and this is going to go forever, and it ends. It's not really abrupt. It's logical, and it makes sense, and it ends in a very satisfying way for both the seed bearers and those that are destroying the seeds. But there was an ongoing dialogue in the third volume where Nawa is talking in this otherworldly realm to the seed that's housed in his body, and the seed looks like Cthulhu.
Okay,
it looks a lot like Cthulhu, and there
like
are
a dream baby.
There are points in the story where Nawa will pull back and let the seed come to the forefront within a battle, and there are other points where the inverse happens, and it's a survival mechanism. And you reading it and you're thinking, wow, that's really clever. But in terms of the art, I can understand why this didn't go longer than 3 volumes, because the art is extremely intricate. It's ridiculously detailed. Lines aplenty. I mean, it is just, it's exhausting as an illustrator to view this work thinking how long it took Kakizaki to draw these things, because it's just amazingly dense. And there's a Lovecraftian bent to it. So Tree of Death, Tomotsuhegui, I enjoyed it very much. I'm kind of sad that it's over in 3 volumes, but yeah, okay. And I'm on the second volume of Kazuo Umezu's Orochi, which is published by Viz Signature. Dap would bail with this volume. 100%.
I really like the first volume. I have the second. I haven't read it.
Yeah, because this volume has 3 stories. Home, Key, and Prodigy, all of which feature children that are incredible bastards.
Oh, Dap's out.
Massive bastard children.
Do bad things happen to them?
Yes.
Or do they cause the bad things?
No bad things happen to them.
Oh, he's back in. He's back.
Oh,
Big-
well, yeah. All right, I'm
Well,
there.
put it this way. In the main story, an infant gets stabbed in the neck,
Okay.
Oh, wait, the infinite can't be bad.
but he turns bad.
Yep.
See, here's the deal. So this is the Prodigy story. Mom is gifted with this infant, this baby. And you is the light of her world. Oh, I'm so glad this is a gift from the gods, and this child is everything. And there's a home invasion that goes very, very wrong. And the thief is jittery. He just wants to feed his kids. He has no money. He ends up stabbing the kid in the neck.
Oh my God.
And it's brutal. The panel is absolutely brutal. You see the knife going into the baby's neck, blood spurting out. So the kid grows up with a scar on his neck, and is bullied because of it. Like, nobody wants to talk to him. He's that freaky kid with the big scar on his neck. Doesn't want to study. And that was what I was talking about before, about the prevalence of just the desire for these Japanese kids to excel academically is just like overpowering, just overbearing, just too much pressure on these kids. And that's what a lot of the story is about. In the second story, this child grows up in a village, Nakase village, and he wants out. He just does not want to live in this rural agrarian, society. So he goes to the city, and shit happens. And he owes a lot of people money. He beat the shit out of a lot of people. So he flees the city and goes back home. And you would think that's the story, right? Okay, so all of this guy's demons are going to follow him to the village. But no, it's a story about the effects of a meteorite on the inhabitants of the town. The meteorite overcomes this child, and this child is a fucking bastard. And he just, mean to animals, hateful to people, and the malady spreads through the village because of a freaking meteorite. It's okay, didn't see that coming. But the last story would would completely do him in. It's called Key, and it's about a latchkey kid who's nicknamed Liar. The story is essentially The Boy Who Cried Wolf. The kid is a major prick. Lies about everything. Doesn't want to go to school. My stomach's hurting. This kid did something wrong to me. The kid gets in trouble. Like he's a bastard, and he lies about everything. He blows his nose on people's clothing. He's just a little shit. He's an idiot. But he goes out on his balcony one day and he looks in his neighbor's apartment and he sees the mother of a crippled child choking out the child, killing her. And he goes back to his parents. He's like, our neighbor just killed their kid. And they're like, cut the shit, you little asshole. You lie about everything. We're not going to believe you. And so the couple next door abduct the kid and beat the fuck out of him to the point where they're going to kill him.
Jesus.
No, I'm telling you, it's nasty. And where's the story going? I'm not going to spoil it. Read it. But you talk surprising. Like Umez is known as one of Japan's preeminent horror mangaka.
Definitely him and Ito are the.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of horror. I mean, yeah, a kid getting stabbed in the neck is pretty horrifying. But in terms of old school paranormal, icky, bump in the night horror, that's not what this second volume is. And through the whole thing, Orochi is like, she's on the fringes. She's looking at these kids. She's like, oh, okay, I'll let this go. She interferes in some cases when she feels like the outcome could be significantly changed by her interfering. But in some cases, she's just like, fuck it. I'm going to let that kid get killed because he's a dickhead. It's just like, what? Okay. Yeah. No, it's Orochi, volume 2 of 4, written and illustrated by the great Kazuo Umez. It comes out of Viz, and these are my fuel. I love these books.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about preserving and bringing all these works. Viz does a great job too. They really do. You can't front on Viz when they do a signature book, an upscale with the hardcover and the great paper. Like, it is just a pleasure.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I have a whole. In that bookshelf in my great room, I have a whole row of Ito and Umez books, all the hardcovers. Yeah.
Liminal Zone 2 from Junji Ito in this month's previews.
Yes.
Get it.
Yeah.
Well, might as well continue the Manga-O-Rama.
Manga-O-Rama, nice.
I'm just maybe couple dozen chapters away from being on Dandadan. I pretty much just been not, except for Mansect. It's pretty much, and a couple things that came out yesterday. It's pretty much all I read this week, and I mean, just blown away by how much emotion and between the Sumerians and Kinta showing up and at first being a complete twat, but everything feels it's progressing naturally. It's organic, the way characters are introduced and how situations develop, and every time you think our heroes are about to meet their end, something that you may have forgot from chapters earlier will resurface. It's amazing. Tatsu, it's a fantastic piece of work. The anime is fantastic, but the manga, I can't stop. I end up like the iPad's almost smacked me in the face because I'm falling asleep reading it, just because I don't want to go to bed because I'm just so deeply into it. I think all are absolutely fantastic. That are I despise immensely, but yeah, it's just been fantastic. Everything that Vince has been talking.
You're being
What the
bombarded
hell?
by.
Well,
Yeah, it's weird.
that's so wild. Anyway, all right, there you go then. Travels, day of the day.
Unlike Superman, I don't care if you talk Dan to Dan every episode.
That's true. That's true.
Doesn't
That's
yeah,
fact.
do it every episode. Just don't get into the because I'm reading the physical. If you
I know.
if you start getting ahead of me, I gotta kind of maybe have an issue with that.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I got a pretty freaking crazy book for my inner travels. First of all, shout out to Karen Berger because she's responsible for this. This is part of the Berger Books line that she's got going now. It is called Death Strikes the Emperor of Atlantis.
What?
Yes. Now this is a fucking crazy book. Okay, because here it is. It is. First of all, let me give the creative team. Written by Dave Moss, art by Patrick Lay and Ezra Rose. As I said, Karen Berger edited it. Letters by Richard Bruning. Okay, so here's the deal. On the surface, it is a story about a alternate reality where Atlantis, the lost city, didn't sink, and becomes the megalopolis of society, right? Like it's the most advanced society, and it's like the Rome of this world, and as such, it is engulfed the rest of the world in tyranny. Okay, and there's an emperor like a Nero, and he's power hungry and oppressive, and going throughout the world just conquering. So then death, as in the actual being of death, gets fed up because the emperor is like going too crazy, and he goes on strike. Death goes on strike. He's like, I'm done. I'm out. And as a result, no one can die now because Death's like he's taking a chill. He's going on vacation. He's on walkabout. So imagine this war-torn, emperor-driven world where everybody's fighting all the time, but nobody can die. But like they don't it's not like they're immortal like superheroes where nothing can hurt them. They can get hurt, but they just never die. So you just have this war-torn world where nobody dies, and it just descends into chaos and madness, right? Okay, so that's what the story is about. But here's where it gets crazy. The story is actually a graphic novel adaptation of an opera that was written in 1943. Now, 1943, right? Key year in the history of our world. The opera was written by Victor Ullmann and Peter Kine. They wrote this opera while they were interned as Jewish Holocaust prisoners during the Holocaust at the Terezin concentration camp. You might say, like, how did they write an opera? Well, Terezin, as it turns out, was a place where I guess a lot of the creatives were put. And they were allowed to be creative in part to entertain the Germans. So these two gentlemen were in Terezin creating this opera. But like everything that had to do with the Holocaust, unfortunately, they were then shipped to another concentration camp a few months later and killed along with most of the Holocaust Jews. So like horrible. They ended up dying. Never obviously saw their opera never saw the light of day. But over history and time, after this work was preserved, and so this creative team adapted a graphic novel based on the opera that these two gentlemen wrote while they were in a concentration camp. But the book deals with all that by also, in addition to giving you the graphic novel adaptation of this crazy opera in this world with Atlantis, also interstitially through sequential graphic storytelling, talks about the Holocaust part and the unearthing of this and the discovery of it, and like so it's wildly meta because it intertwines.
I love that. I love
real life with this crazy like super odd future state, and it's all rendered and then again, like this crazy metacont of what if Death goes on strike. So like the whole thing is just fantastic, and it's really wild. And the illustrations just just almost like ethereal. It just was fascinating and really deep and complex, and a book, frankly, that I think warrants multiple reads. I haven't reread it yet, but like I was so blown away by the whole thing, and then to realize that it's like the aspect of it coming from these two gentlemen who never got a chance, along with so many of their peers, to ever bring their art to life. It's just wild to think about. So yeah, so definitely worth checking out. Again, it's called Death Strikes the Emperor of Atlantis. Yeah, wild stuff.
That sounds great.
Yeah, really really.
I'll give you that one too.
All right, nice. I'm on a roll.
Yeah. So two.
We've only talked about a couple things today.
Yeah.
Damn.
What do you? So I'm assuming we're not going to get any. Speaking of death, I'm assuming we're not going to get any more Sandman out of Netflix, right?
Oh no, we're getting second season.
No, we are getting second season. Yeah.
Oh, it's so for real. It's going to be a thing. Because I thought with
I
the
thought they already made it, didn't they? Oh, with Gaming Getting Canceled.
Yeah.
I think they already made it, didn't they? Or they
Right.
already.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. If it's not completed, it's about I don't see. Dude, Netflix. I mean, the Chappelle still has his spec. I don't see Netflix or something.
Right. Yeah.
It's possible. But
the second season has taken years to come together, which isn't unheard of because it's very FX heavy. Okay, so the second season is absolutely happening. It's done. But they did say in this article I'm looking at right now that they very well conceivably and unintentionally could be the final season, though, because of the game.
Right,
so
okay.
we're going to get season 2, but we're probably not going to get any more after that, which is
Right.
a bummer because they're not going to get anywhere close to.
Yeah, I thought season 1 was pretty damn good. Yeah.
It really was. It was, yeah.
Surprisingly so, yeah. Okay. All right, people. Hey, do yourself a huge favor in these trying times. Get yourself to a comic book shop or an online retailer, maybe cheapgraphicnovels.com. Buy some comics. Find some like-minded individuals on the internets, maybe at 11 O'Clock Comics, who also love to talk about comics and just do just that. Talk about comics. Fill your world with art. Isn't that awesome? Do it. Talk about art. Ingest, consume art. Live art. It's the best thing ever. And then come back here because we'll be doing the same. Say goodnight. Do do ba da ba ba ba. Do. I didn't bring it up in time, but I'm gonna do it now. Oh God! I clicked on the duck.
I was going to say, I didn't do that. It wasn't me. Wasn't me either. Wasn't me either.
David.
Vince is all up in his soundboard bag.
Could 2025 be the year of the Nitro? Maybe.
Oh, dare to dream.
stranger things have happened.
But I'm just gun shy because if we get the Nitro and I can't add more sounds to it, I'm gonna be like a puddle because I can't add any more sounds to this. And what if it sticks? Like, what if that's a problem?
Isn't the point of Nitro that we can
yes,
have lots of things?
Yeah, that is the point.
Yes, but it's also, I mean, then if we can't do it, then you kill the subscription.
It's not the end of the world, bruh. There you go.
Bruh.
Tell them you love them.
That's right.
Love them so much.
Absolutely. Happy New Year. Love you all so much. 11 o'clock for next week. Get ready.
People get ready.
Don't do it. Top 10, top 5. Come on. Do it.
Woot woot.
That's it for that one.